Good evening and welcome to the November 6th regular session of Findlay City Council. We will start this evening's meeting with the roll call, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
Mr. Ballman?
Here.
Mr. DeArmond? Ms. Frischi?
Here.
Mr. Greeno?
Here.
Mr. Hellman?
Here.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Here.
Mr. Palmer?
Here.
Mr. Russell?
Here.
Ms. Warnicki?
Here.
And Mr. Wobser?
Present.
Mr. DeArmond is out of town, hopefully having a grandbaby. He did have a grandbaby? Okay, congratulations to him and his daughter and son-in-law, obviously. I will entertain a motion to excuse Mr. Russell, second Mr. Baumann. All those in favor of excusing Mr. DeArmond say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. He is excused. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll entertain a motion to approve the previous city council minutes. Mr. Palmer, second Mr. Hellman. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the city council minutes say aye. Any opposed, nay? They are accepted. Mr. Russell, do we have any add-ons, replacements, or removals from tonight's agenda?
Yes, sir. One removal, and that's for the zoning amendment request for the properties on Tiffin Avenue. And in the petition section, I motion that it be removed from the agenda.
Second, Mr. Baumann. Discussion? All those in favor of it being removed, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? It will be removed from tonight's agenda. We have no proclamations. We have no recognition or retirement resolutions. We have one petition.
An alley vacation request from Hancock County Commissioner's Office to vacate a portion of the unnamed east-west alley between West Main Cross Street and West Crawford Street, running from South Corey westerly to the north-south alley lying between South Corey Street and Southwest Street.
Questions or comments? This will be referred to the City Planning Commission and the P&Z Committee. The second on tonight's agenda was removed. We have an oral communication. The HHWP would like to speak. Why don't we get that out of the...
Oh, you want now?
And, okay, guys, you have 4 minutes.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Yeah, make sure that's red dot. Yep, there you go. Thank you.
Man, hopefully I can get out of here with getting the mic work at least. That'll be a good accomplishment. Thank you for allowing us to come speak with you today. My name's Josh Anderson. I'm the president and CEO of HHWP Community Action Commission. This is my colleague, Director of Transportation, Jamie Baker. And Jamie's here to make sure I get all my facts straight, right, Jamie? A few words on public transportation. We have provided public transportation under the Hancock Area Transportation Services since 1997. For many years, it's been a successful service. It's been a demand responsive service, and that just basically means it's you order your ride, we pick you up at your door, and then we drop you off at the location of your request. So for the past several years, we've been looking at ways, how do we do better? The service is, while running very efficient, we're kind of maxed at our capacity to provide trips, and so we've been working with a coalition, including the members of the City of Findlay, Hancock County, the Community Foundation of Hancock County, to discuss ways, how do we get transportation to be better in the community. ODOT funded a transit development study that I believe we've been engaged in for the past about 18 months, Jamie, is that correct? Correct. The results came in, and the recommendation is that the City of Findlay consider moving towards a fixed route transportation system. Kind of an anecdotal, but important nonetheless. The City of Findlay is the only city of its size in the state of Ohio without some form of public, fixed route public transportation, that is. So, the transit development study outlined what they think would be best for the city, how we think we can take the resources we have and provide more service. The system as it stands is kind of maxed out. So what do we do to move forward? Well, there's a lot, but the first step is we need to look at acquiring vehicles that can be used should we be able to move towards a fixed route system. And Jamie, I'll let you describe the vehicles. You're the expert there.
We're looking at purchasing 5 16-passenger vehicles, low-floor vehicles without a lift, so people can get on and off the buses quickly and easily. With the lift, it's a lot tougher to get people on and off the bus, especially those that have mobility issues, wheelchairs, that kind of thing. So the fixed route service, we would use the 5 buses, 4 for the fixed routes that would spread throughout the city of Findlay, and 1 that would be our spare bus in case one breaks down, because you have to have a spare. ODOT says we have to have a spare. And we would use those buses for the fixed route service. Now, if we do not go forward with the fixed route service, because that's a whole nother step to this first part of this plan for fixed route service for the city of Findlay, we can still use those buses on a daily basis with our demand response service in the city of Findlay. Our demand response service, there's just too much demand for the supply we can do right now with demand response service, door-to-door service. So that's why we want to go to a fixed route service, so we're able to move more people. And this will help us in that regard.
And I might add, as a community action commission, our goal is to reduce poverty and improve lives. And so the thing we're really looking at is how do we get more people to work? I mean, that's our number one priority. As the system stands right now, over 77% of rides are either to work or to medical services. And I believe it's 51%. So a majority of all rides are getting people to and from work. We'd like to increase that. We think it's very important. We're working also with a coalition of business in the city. And so really the time is now. We're kind of, as our colleague Crystal often says, we're kind of at a crucible moment. We have some momentum. We have the opportunity to apply for funding to ODOT. ODOT is going to match every dollar we can generate in local match with $4. So it's an 80-20 split. And we have some tentative commitments from the Community Foundation and the Hancock County Commissioners as well.
Questions? Ms. Frishy?
Couple quick questions, Jamie.
Yeah.
How many vehicles do you currently have, and will they all stay in operation, not with routes?
Right, okay. We do have 20 vehicles in Hancock County. So with this transit development plan, with the fixed route services in Findlay, we also are required to do complimentary paratransit in the city of Findlay. So those routes, we would do complimentary paratransit in the city of Findlay with those vehicles that we currently have, because all of our vehicles are handicapped accessible. And we also are required to do demand response transportation throughout the rest of the county. So Arlington, Macomb, everybody else still has access to public transportation. So yeah, those vehicles will still be in use. We just will not use those for the fixed route because of the lift and the time it takes at the bus stops to get that lift up and down and get people loaded.
And those hold how many people? Those are, 8 people on one of those compared to, so we're like doubling the size. I'm trying to get perspective.
Between 8, we do have 1 14-passenger, so it's usually between 8 and 10, 8 and 12.
And you're not phasing those out with
Oh,
these
no.
5 new ones?
No, because we still have to do the paratransit, and those require accessible vehicles, and we have to serve the rest of the county. I mean, you know.
Other questions?
Yep.
Mr. Hellman?
Real quick, and I don't mean to belabor it, but can you just describe briefly where these 5 routes are going to go to and from?
Sure. It's pretty much, we're hoping to have a hub in the center of town, and then the routes will go north, south, to each of the Walmarts, the hospital. So, in fact, Mr. Hellman, if you would like, I kind of have a sketched out routes that I could send you. So, it's in the transit development, the final phase of the transit development plan, and it kind of gets the routes, shows you what the routes will be. But we're also with the funds from the Community Foundation, we're also going to have a transit implementation plan too.
Okay.
And that'll become clearer when we do the transit implementation plan. So,
Mr. Russell?
Yeah, Jamie, I think you sent that plan out at one point in time and in prep for this meeting. I've been looking for it and can't find it. Would you please redistribute to all council that transit plan that
oh, absolutely. And
shows this?
I think I sent you guys the draft version,
Yes,
which is a little bit different. So I can definitely send you guys the full
I
plan.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mayor?
So one thing I do want to clarify for this evening's meeting is that we are not committing to establishing a fixed route. I've been in discussions with them about all the different elements of what that would entail and the long-term financial expense and the partners and sponsorships and all of those different elements. So if we could set that aside for a moment, because tonight's consideration is something different than what we typically deal with. This is related just to specifically purchasing the vehicles, which they typically purchase on their own, but what kind of a couple at a time. But with this opportunity, they kind of have more upfront cost all at once than what they have cash on hand to be able to cover it. So that is why they came to the commissioners, the community foundation, and the city to be able to help support, because then we can leverage the 80-20 match. They will be able to still be used if we choose not to move forward with the fixed route in a usable fashion. And then if we do determine in the next couple of years that we want to move towards the fixed route, then they are the appropriate buses to be able to accommodate that. So that I just wanted to clarify that by doing this does not commit us to the program moving forward.
Mr. Palmer.
Jamie, what's the lifespan for these buses you're going to purchase?
Right now, it's about 10 years for these buses, so we can keeping them in operation for about 10 years right now. And these buses are about double the cost. The low floor buses with the ramp, they're about double the cost of our regular LTNs that you see on the street with the lifts.
Mr. Russell.
What is the status of the ask for with the Hancock County Commissioners and with the Community Foundation? Where are you at in that process?
The Community Foundation, we met with them today. They were very receptive to our ask, and it's conditional on the city and the county also stepping up too. I wasn't at the commissioners meeting. Josh can kind of speak to that.
Yeah, I think that the idea here is that, and I don't want to speak for any of our community partners, but I think the idea is that each one of our partners that we're coming to with this ask is wanting to see, others participate as well. And so we're kind of in a bit of a holding pattern, but as Jamie noted, we feel pretty good about the reception.
Ms. Frishy.
So I know the county usually supports you financially on an annual basis. They do the matching funds, or is it us that usually support?
Nobody. We do our own matching funds. The only matching funds we get are $60,000 from the United Way, and the rest of the revenue we raise for our federal match is through contract revenue. So we do contracts with organizations, medical facilities, the Agency on Aging 3, Job and Family Services. So we do contract transportation for that. And because we do that contracted transportation at the fully allocated cost, the federal government gives us our local match dollar for that contract revenue. So no, the only thing we've received from the county is we got $100,000 in ARPA funds over the last 3 years when some of the other nonprofits did when they had the extra ARPA money.
Okay.
But that's the only support we get locally.
And none of the business partners that are using this more to get their employees to and from work are joining in, since it's going to benefit their workforce?
Not yet,
Not yet.
but we're working on
having
that.
these
We're working on that. The hospital, the university, the people that are really going to use this when we get to the implementation of it. The big thing with workforce transportation, though, is in Findlay, it's really scattered. I mean, it's everywhere. It's not just taking people to Tall Timbers. It's taking people all over town. It's taking them to retail, service industries. It's the people that make your hamburgers, the people that bag your groceries. Those are the people that are using public transportation in this city, and it's scattered all over. So it's difficult to pin employers down when there's 5 or 6 people or 3 or 4 people.
So lastly, staffing. I know you guys kind of had issues staffing in general. You think you're going to be able to staff 20 buses plus another 4?
I'm actually fully staffed and turning people away.
Good.
So if anybody needs a driving job, in their
Mr.
retirement-
Stashek.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate your program from the oversight I've had over it with the different things that I've been involved in. 2 things I want to mention. I'll have to work with the Director of Law's office because cities aren't allowed to participate in public transportation and in terms of owning the system, but I'll need to get something in the file that says we're allowed to contribute if you choose to move forward with this. But my second question was, based on what you're doing, and you're doing a wonderful job, it sounds like it, are you guys going to continue or be able to continue long into the future to provide the service, or based on the studies you're having, are you seeing this transition into a transit authority type program?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a transit authority type program. I think it's just going to stay in Hancock County, and this project is Hancock County specific. We do transportation in Wyandotte and Hardin counties. Different animal, different ball game. You got to treat each county differently because their needs are different. So,
Mr. Webster?
Josh, you mentioned that you've got enough drivers, but do you have enough budget money for fuel maintenance and to pay your drivers with all these new vehicles?
Yeah, yes, we do. We do. And
Where is that additional funding coming from?
we do have a current grant with the Ohio Department of Transportation, which includes some federal funds, some state match, and as Jamie noted, our contract revenue and fare revenue. So it's kind of built into the system as it stands. And as it relates to an increased capacity, we'll also be applying for our ongoing operational grant, which we'll put in for here in come December, I believe it is, right?
Mr. Hellman?
Thank you. And this may be a question for the law department, but I'm curious, can we make our approval, if we were to approve this, conditional upon the others coming through? I don't want to be the only one out there shelling out money and everybody else says, whoa, we're going to back off of this commitment.
Well, yes, we can do that. I also can just not sign it until we have them pass stuff. So we can kind of do it two different ways.
All right.
And we've done it that way before. Ms. Warnicki?
Do we know what the ask amount is?
Yeah, $100,000.
Okay, maybe I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's one of the letters from me in there.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
All right, I have another question. I know you said you were going to send out this route again. Does it also show where the bus stops are?
Yeah, the routes show where the bus stops are.
And I assume they're going to be
But-
on Main Street?
That's a preliminary kind of a route what they came up with in the first transit development plan. Then we'll do an implementation plan, and those will get tweaked a little bit.
Since we only have one lane on Main Street, is that going to back up traffic to have a bus stop somewhere?
So that's part of the conversations, is working through the specific locations and determining where the best spots are. That's also part of their request for the easy loads, because rather than having to wait for the lift to slowly come down and slowly go up, people are able to, when they pull up, do that. So that is part of the whole business case scenario. And one thing I want to point out as well, because they talked about, their operational grants and those funds, that is very standard for transportation systems to primarily be funded through the state and federal program. So when we had the conversation of how you make sure it's sustainable, how do you make sure you're guaranteeing the revenue, those different things, that's really how it works. But there's a lot of different components and a lot more conversation that you'll be able to be involved in as we continue to have that conversation.
All right, let's,
Just one more question.
no, I'm sorry, Ms.
Well-
Frischie. Mr. Russell behind you had his hand up
Oh,
first.
okay.
Mr. Russell, please.
Well, I know we're only talking about, or the only thing in front of us is the $100,000 funding grant. Do you see this system? It's not fare based. It's going to be free to ride. Is that correct?
No, it'll be fare based, like every other public transportation is.
Well, not every. I'm familiar with specifically Fort Collins, Colorado, and they are continuing to be not fare based, and they're a 200,000 person community, and they're not fare based because when they charge fares, their ridership plummets, and so they have the city out there makes it free and absorbs that cost, and so you have there's a conflict there between fair and free and ridership, and I understand we're going to be going through a kind of an experimental process on this. I just kind of at a high level wondered what the philosophy was on that versus free to ride.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of Colorado, but thanks. We'll have to look into that to see if it's a viable model. But I will say, in our current system, we do charge fares, and we still have demand that exceeds the supply. And we do have the ability to set fares. There's a lot of flexibility that we have in conjunction with our local partners to establish a rate that makes sense. And that can be from free to, well, whatever amount on the demand curve will can only go so high, or else, as you noted, nobody will ride. That's a very fair point.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm sure we might have you back for some more questions at some point in time. Okay, written communication.
An email from Michael Van Hoos regarding from the Diversified Restaurant Group LLC, doing business as Not Your Mama's Grilled Cheese Truck, regarding more food truck drama.
Questions or comments? Ms. Frishy?
Rob, I know I brought this up a couple weeks ago. Now that you have this letter after the Halloween parade and food trucks and so forth, you know, are you moving this up on your agenda of schedules only because, you know, obviously fire department needs to be involved, police department, health department, and we need to make sure we're treating everybody the same.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we had a meeting today and we were working through the process. Hope is to have legislation and discussion in the first meeting of December for you all to explain what the modeling is. Mr. Van Hoos, actually, I communicated with him today about the most recent email that he sent about the frustrations out at Flight House. And as a matter of fact, that's actually not in the city limits. However, doesn't take away from we are hardwiring the process. And his original email with a lot of those pointed out suggestions were very helpful to help us hardwire what other communities are doing. So I look forward to having legislation and information for you all to discuss here in the near future.
Letter to be filed.
A letter from Zachary Thomas, a letter of support from the Center of Civic Engagement, CCE, signed by Dr. Brian Treese, President and CEO of the Findlay Hancock County Community Foundation, Kelly McClurkin, CEO, United Way of Hancock County, Dr. Catherine Fell, President of the University of Findlay, Myron Lewis, President and CEO of Blanchard Valley Health System, Precious Stubbe, Hancock County Board of Alcohol, Drug, and Addiction and Mental Health Services, and Lindsay Summit, Commissioner of Hancock Public Health.
Questions or comments? Letter to be filed.
Letter from Downtown Findlay Improvement District regarding Downtown Findlay Improvement District Assessment Equalization Board for their recommendations and findings from the DFID objection hearing held on October 18th, 2024.
Questions or comments? Mr. Russell?
I would move that we accept the recommendations of the DFID Assessment Equalization Board.
Second, Mr. Palmer. All those in favor of accepting?
Discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry, questions or comments? Already asked for those. Mr. Stashak?
Yeah, if you do accept it, what'll have to happen, since we're past the deadline for this year, the amount of the assessment has been calculated and determined, as you know, or the board wouldn't have a number to consider. So when it's sent over to the county by your council clerk, what will have to happen is what was originally a 5-year assessment will have to be compressed into 4s to the dollar amount in theory, unless the law director or the law director's office disagrees, will have to be a little bit larger each year. But that assessment will have to meet the deadline, so it goes on next year for first payment the following year.
Mr. Russell?
Well, I'd ask Mr. Feiner or Mr. Stasiak to confirm on that, because the recommendation of the Assessment Equalization Board is to make no change, was denial of the request. So it should be the same that was filed.
Okay, Ms.
And note,
Stashak?
when the numbers were calculated and presented, by no change, they mean no change to the amount as I read it. There was no amount assessed to this property because of the deadline and not knowing what the board would do. In other words, had that assessment been levied, the amount would have been charged irregardless of the board's decision, and the board needed to meet before the amount was assessed.
Mr. Feiner?
Right, and I agree with Jim Stashak on that, that's correct, because they were not assessed yet, right? Correct.
Other questions or comments?
So we
All those in favor of the findings say aye.
shouldn't accept it.
Any opposed, nay?
Nay. I
Okay.
don't,
The
I have a
findings have been accepted.
well, I just have a question since I didn't get to ask it. If we accepted it, does it mess up whatever we have to do of this discussion that just took place? No. Of reassessing, that didn't, okay.
No, because all the auditor is saying is that the property will be assessed the full amount that is supposed to be assessed to the property, but because they were not assessed this calendar year, they will have to pay this full amount assessed, but over 4 years. So accepting the report is saying that the property
But they
pays
were
the full
included in it.
amount.
I thought you said
Correct.
they weren't. Okay.
The hearing is accepted.
An email from Kathy Wingent regarding multi-use paths.
Questions or comments? Letter to be filed. Excuse me. Reports of municipal officers and departments.
Letter from Mayor Mern regarding Hancock, Hardin, Wyandotte, Putnam Community, which is HHWP, Community Action Commission, and Hancock Area Transit Services, known as HATS.
Questions or comments? Ms. Frisching?
Mayor, a question on this, the $100,000, you know, could that have been used with ARPA dollars? I know we're on third reading with Raise the Bar, which kind of works with them as well. And I guess, you know, we didn't have that choice to discuss. Could that have been an option, or do we have any money, auditor, still left not used from ARPA dollars?
Mayor Merritt?
So this may have been able to be considered. I don't know specifically. I would have had to consult with the deputy auditor. This was only brought to me a couple weeks ago, the request, and so we had already planned the distribution of American Rescue Plan Act funds. So I wouldn't recommend making changes here at the last moment. The only funds that are currently available through American Rescue Plan Act funds that have not been appropriated are still in the demolition fund, and there will be legislation to appropriate those at the next meeting, which we'll discuss.
Other questions or
No.
comments? Letter to be filed. Oh, sorry, Mr. Wobser.
I'd make a motion that this situation be referred to strategic planning. This is actually one of the bullet points in our strategic plan.
Second, Mr. Russell. All those in favor that this is referred to strategic plan, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. It will be done. Letter to be filed.
Board of Zoning Appeals minutes for September 12th, 2024.
Minutes to be filed.
Letter from Chief of Police Matthias regarding funds from the state of Ohio to Findlay Police Department for ORC required training.
Letter be filed.
Letter from City Engineer Kalb regarding A1 hangar office bathroom remodel, project number 352-45400.
Ms. Frisching.
Looking for a little info. So we have this hangar that's been sitting, and we're gonna start doing medical exams for, licensing for pilots? Or this is a one-time thing, and that's why we're building this and fixing the wall?
No, so it was this hangar was always used before by ProMedica back prior to 2008 before they left. Since then, the office and the bathroom within that, and it was used as a medical examination area for pilots as well for that too. Since then, we've had a doctor come in that is wanting to lease that out to perform these. But with that, since it has not been used since 2008, to make sure that it is a good space for them to utilize for their examination. Like I stated on there, we're needing to repair block walls, ventilation with the HVAC upgrade system and stuff like that. But what this does is getting certified by the FAA for being an examiner isn't just a normal thing to do. This is kind of a specialized niche that is with that. Right now, they are coming in at least 3 Fridays a month to perform these. On how many examinations and all that kind of stuff we have, I don't have an answer for you, but I'll get a little bit more information on how often it'd be used, how many people come in, where do these people come from, and stuff like that.
And
Mr.
where are
Russell.
we using it currently at?
What's that?
You said they come in 3 Fridays a month. Where are they?
That's the plan. It's
Oh,
not being
not
done now.
currently.
These are
Gotcha.
FAA physicals for pilots.
Gotcha.
It's a
Yeah,
very
I am.
specific type of physical that they have to have. So
Mr. Russell.
It might be nice to have Amanda McGee, the airport manager, come in and kind of put some explanation around to this. I had asked Jeremy a few questions today via email, and I think just Amanda would explain why this is necessary beyond the level of discussion we're having now. If she could make the next meeting, that would be appreciated.
we'll make that happen.
Letter to be filed.
Letter from Service Safety Director Martin regarding 2025 to 2027 fire and police union contracts.
Questions or comments? Letter to be filed.
Letter from Mayor Mern regarding an appointment to the Board of Zoning Appeals. This appointment does require council's confirmation.
Mr. Russell,
Move that Andrew House be appointed to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
second Mr. Ballman. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of appointing Andrew House, say aye. Any opposed, nay. He is appointed.
Findlay Fire Department Activities Report for October 2024.
Report to be filed. We have no committee reports. Legislation, we will start with resolutions.
Third reading for Resolution 30, 2024. A resolution stating what services the City of Findlay, Ohio will provide to the territory proposed to be annexed to the City of Findlay, Ohio, situated in Marion Township, County of Hancock, State of Ohio, and being a part of the northwest quarter of Section 5, Township 1 North, Range 11 East, a tract of land consisting of 1.480 acres of land, more or less, hereinafter referred to as the Weaver, 6434 County Road 18, annexation.
Mr. Baumann.
Move for adoption.
Second Mr. Palmer. Discussion, Ms. Frishy.
On all three of these resolutions, Mayor, when we say we're going to provide utilities and so forth, typically we have like a project that's going to, since we don't yet, do we still have to go put it in right now?
No, all it means is that when
If
it is
they-
requested, then those services will be provided.
Any other questions? All those in favor of the resolution, say aye. If your name is called, those opposed, nay.
Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Nay.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
And Mr. Wobser?
Aye.
Resolution is adopted.
Third reading for Resolution 31, 2024. A resolution stating what services the City of Findlay, Ohio will provide to the territory proposed to be annexed to the City of Findlay, Ohio, situated in Allen Township, County of Hancock, State of Ohio, and being a part of the southeast quarter of Section 31, Township 2 North, Range 11 East, a tract of land consisting of 48.987 acres of land, more or less, hereinafter referred to as the Cole, County Road 212, annexation.
Mr. Palmer.
Move for adoption of ordinance number 31-2024.
Second Mr. Baumann. Discussion? All those in favor of the resolution, say aye. If your name is called, those opposed, nay.
Ms. Frishy?
Nay.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
Mr. Wobser?
Aye.
Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
The resolution is adopted.
Third reading for Resolution 32, 2024. A resolution stating what services the City of Findlay, Ohio will provide to the territory proposed to be annexed to the City of Findlay, Ohio, being the southeast quarter of Section 32, Township 2 North, Range 11 East, Allen Township, part of the northwest quarter of Section 4 and part of the northeast quarter of Section 5, Township 1 North, Range 11 East, Marion Township, County of Hancock, State of Ohio, a tract of land consisting of 160.429 acres of land, more or less, of which 159.288 acres lie within Section 32, Allen Township, 0.027 acres lie within Section 4, Marion Township, and 1.114 acres lie within Section 5, Marion Township, hereinafter referred to as the Voorhees, County Road 212, Township Road 99, annexation.
Mr. Palmer.
Move for adoption of ordinance number 32-2024.
Second Mr. Hellman. Discussion? All those in favor of the resolution, say aye. If your name is called, those opposed, nay.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
Mr. Wobser?
Aye.
Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
And Ms. Frishy.
Nay.
Resolution is adopted.
First reading for Resolution 33, 2024, a resolution approving the expenditures made by the Auditor's Office on the attached list of vouchers which either exceed the purchase order or were incurred without a purchase order, exceeding the statutory limit of $3,000, all in accordance with Ohio Revised Code 5705.41D.
Mr. Palmer.
Move for adoption of ordinance number 33-2024. Sorry, resolution number 33-2024.
Second Mr. Baumann. Discussion? All those in favor of the resolution, say aye. If your name is called, those opposed, nay.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
Mr. Wobser?
Aye.
Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond? Oops, sorry, Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
And Mr. Greeno.
Aye.
Resolution is adopted.
First reading for Resolution 34, 2024, a resolution clarifying ordinance number 2024-119 as it pertains to the appropriation of American Rescue Plan Act funds to raise the bar and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Baumann,
Move for adoption.
second Mr. Palmer. Discussion. Mr. Fink, Rob has something he wants to say.
Yeah, I just want to make a statement about this. So I reviewed the minutes from the October 15th meeting to get a good grasp on what sort of the purpose of the request was for memorializing that we're in that resolution 119, providing the $90,000, and that's it, with expecting no further requests for 3 years. While a resolution memorializes that and shows the intention of this council for anyone to see down the road, I just want to make sure that other council members know it certainly isn't necessary. Council of 2025, 26, 27, whenever, can still conduct whatever business they want. They could repeal the resolution if the Raise the Bar comes back and says we'd like to have 5,000. We forgot about to ask for that and didn't know we needed it. That council could still repeal that resolution and vote and decide to give that money. But for the purpose of wanting to memorialize what this council's intent was, this gets that job done. And that was my understanding from reading the October 15th minutes.
Other questions or comments? All those in favor of the resolution say aye. If your name is called, those opposed, nay.
Mr. Niemeyer,
Aye.
Mr. Palmer,
Aye.
Mr. Russell,
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki,
Aye.
Mr. Wobser,
Aye.
Mr. Ballman,
Aye.
Ms. Frishy,
Aye.
Mr. Greeno,
Aye.
Mr. Hellman.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted. Ordinances.
Third reading for ordinance 2024-113, an ordinance vacating a certain portion of a certain alley hereinafter referred to as the Bank Street Vacation in the city of Findlay, Ohio.
Mr. Greeno.
Move for adoption of ordinance 2024-113.
Second Mr. Hellman. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor of ordinance say aye. After your name is called, those opposed, nay.
Mr. Palmer,
Aye.
Mr. Russell,
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki,
Aye.
Mr. Wobser,
Aye.
Mr. Ballman,
Aye.
Ms. Frishy,
Aye.
Mr. Greeno,
Aye.
Mr. Hellman,
Aye.
and Mr. Niemeyer.
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted.
Third reading for ordinance 2024-114, an ordinance amending Chapter 1100 et sec of the codified ordinances of the city of Findlay, Ohio, known as the zoning code, by rezoning the following described property, referred to as 615 East Edgar Avenue rezone, which previously was zoned R2 medium lot residential to R3 small lot residential.
Mr. Baumann.
Move for adoption of ordinance number 114.
Second Mr. Greeno. Discussion. All those in favor of the ordinance say aye. After your name is called, those opposed, nay.
Mr. Russell,
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki,
Aye.
Mr. Wobser,
Aye.
Mr. Ballman,
Aye.
Ms. Frishy,
Aye.
Mr. Greeno,
Aye.
Mr. Hellman,
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer,
Aye.
and Mr. Palmer.
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted.
Third reading for ordinance 2024-115, an ordinance vacating a certain portion of a certain alley hereinafter referred to as the undeveloped portion of West Sandusky Street Vacation in the city of Findlay, Ohio. That was the third reading.
Mr. Palmer.
Move for adoption of ordinance number 2024-115.
Second Mr. Greeno. Discussion. Ms. Frishy.
I couldn't figure out where this is located exactly.
It's west. It's out by like where Marathon has like their fuel tanks and stuff out that way. So it wouldn't be
So it's
it's
actually
butting up to another property. It's pretty much a dead end leading to nowhere.
Thanks.
Any other questions? All those in favor of the ordinance say aye. After your name is called, those opposed, nay.
Ms. Warnicki,
Aye.
Mr. Wobser,
Aye.
Mr. Ballman,
Aye.
Ms. Frishy,
Aye.
Mr. Greeno,
Aye.
Mr. Hellman,
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer,
Aye.
Mr. Palmer,
Aye.
Mr. Russell.
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted.
Third reading for ordinance 2024-119, an ordinance authorizing the mayor, service safety director, and/or city engineer of the city of Findlay, Ohio, to advertise for bids where required and enter into contracts in order to transfer and utilize American Rescue Plan Act, hereinafter referred to as ARPA, funds on additional projects, appropriating and transferring funds thereto, and declaring an emergency.
Ms. Warnicki.
Move to approve ordinance 2024-119.
Second Mr. Baumann. Discussion. Ms. Frishy.
I will vote in favor of it tonight, even though I am not in favor of Raise the Bar as part of that.
Other questions or comments? All those in favor of the ordinance say aye. If your name is called, those opposed, nay.
Mr. Wobser?
Aye.
Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
And Ms. Warnicki.
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted.
Second reading for ordinance 2024-122, an ordinance appropriating and transferring funds and declaring an emergency. First reading for ordinance 2024-124, an ordinance amending Chapter 1100 et sec of the codified ordinances of the City of Findlay, Ohio, known as the zoning code by rezoning the following described property referred to as 0 Glessner Avenue rezone, parcel number 560001008484, which previously was zoned I-1 light industrial to CD condominium. First reading for ordinance 2024-125, an ordinance amending Chapter 1100 et sec of the codified ordinances of the City of Findlay, Ohio, known as the zoning code by rezoning the following described property referred to as 1700 Western Avenue rezone, which previously was zoned I-1 light industrial to C2 general commercial. First reading for ordinance 2024-126, an ordinance appropriating and transferring funds and declaring an emergency. First reading for ordinance 2024-127, an ordinance appropriating funds and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Palmer.
Since these are state funds to pay for police training, I move that council's statutory rules be suspended and this ordinance be given its second and third reading.
Second, Mr. Greeno. All those in favor of suspension of the rules say aye. If your name is called, those opposed, nay.
Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
Ms. Dion, oh my goodness, Ms. Frishy?
I'm not, aye.
Thank you. Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
And Mr. Wobser?
Aye.
All the rules have been suspended, and the clerk will give this ordinance its second and third reading.
Ordinance 2024-127, ordinance 2024-127.
Mr. Greeno.
Move for adoption of ordinance number 2024-127.
Second, Mr. Palmer. Discussion. All those in favor of the ordinance say aye. If your name is called, those opposed, nay.
Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
Mr. Wobser?
Aye.
And Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted.
First reading for ordinance 2024-128, an ordinance authorizing the auditor to make payroll deductions for those employees who have elected to enroll in the Health Savings Account HSA plan and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Russell.
As this is standard business that we seem to do every year, I would make a motion that council statutory rules be suspended and ordinance 2024-128 be given its second and third reading.
Second, Mr. Baumann. All those in favor of suspension of the rules say aye. If your name is called, those opposed, nay.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
Mr. Wobser?
Aye.
Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
And Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
Rules of council have been suspended, and the clerk will give this ordinance its second and third reading.
Ordinance 2024-128, ordinance 2024-128.
Mr. Palmer.
Move for adoption of ordinance number 2024-128.
Second, Mr. Greeno. Discussion. All those in favor of the ordinance say aye. If your name is called, those opposed, nay.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
Mr. Wobser?
Aye.
Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
And Mr. Greeno.
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted.
First reading for ordinance 2024-129, an ordinance appropriating and transferring funds and declaring an emergency.
Ms. Warnicki.
I just want to ask a question. I know we talked about having somebody from the airport come in and talk to us about it, but do you happen to know, Jeremy, what that proposed lease amount is?
I don't offhand, so we'll make sure Amanda has all that information ready for you.
All right, thank you.
Other questions? Next.
First reading for ordinance 2024-130, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Findlay, Ohio to extend its financial commitment to the Blanchard River Watershed Partnership of $5,000 per year for calendar years 2024 through 2026 and declaring an emergency. First reading for ordinance 2024-131, An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Findlay, Ohio to enter into a 3-year contract with the International Association of Firefighters Local 381 AFL-CIO effective January 1st, 2025, expiring December 31st, 2027, and declaring an emergency. First reading for ordinance 2024-132. An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Findlay, Ohio to enter into 3-year contracts with the Ohio Patrolmen's Benevolent Association on behalf of the divisions of dispatch patrol officers, sergeants, and lieutenants in the Findlay, Ohio Police Department effective January 1st, 2025, and expiring December 31st, 2027, and declaring an emergency.
Old business. Ms. Frisching.
I don't know if it's old or new, but I just wanted to do a little shout out to Dave Hans. So trick or treat went well. We had great weather. I always go out into my ward, which is Ward 1, and trick or treat with the kids and hand out candy. And I talked to a lot of the residents. They kind of gave me a short list of some things that needed to be done. In all my busy schedule, I'm able to call Dave at any time, and I can talk my language to explain to him where something is at, and he is like his own built-in map. And he got 4 things done right away, so I think it's great.
Mr. Wobser.
Question along the same lines. And first off, I hope Councilwoman Frischie gave her candy away to somebody. And Mayor Murin, you've explained this to us before. Why do we feel like we need to move Halloween to our own special night, where most of the rest of the world does it on the 31st, no matter when it happens?
Well, that's a great question.
Thank you.
We really have, obviously previously it just was always the Thursday before. And so I've tried to switch it to the weekend because that has seemed to be kind of better received by the community. This year I realized we could have done it both on the Thursday and the 31st or whichever it ended up being. So we can certainly look at that. It's kind of just been our discretion as we talk to the police department, kind of what works well for the team. So moving forward, I know we probably wouldn't do it on a Sunday just because that's typically not a date we'll put Halloween on. But we'll certainly look at that moving forward. Because I'm not opposed to it. It just can wreak a little bit of havoc on folks with children going out and trying to get them ready. The teachers don't exactly enjoy it, but we can certainly look at that.
Other old business, Mr. Stashek.
Thank you. I had mentioned at a couple prior meetings and through working through the budget process, a bit informed by the administration, that we will likely not be receiving revenue, or the plan is not to request revenue from the DFID moving into 25. So what I have requested and they've agreed to do is provide me a budgetary list of items that would be expended moving into next year so that we can comply with audit and the state auditor's requirements with regard to monies that are expended in non-typical taxpayer situations, because DFID was created and the money was collected to pay for flowers, to pay for watering, to pay for those things, and they quickly found out that they didn't have enough money to do it, and we got involved and helped where we could, and it evolved into what it is today. But my question is, so we at least have the DFID issue. I've also been informed by some employee departments and whatnot that there are some other areas where we provide services even outside the city limits. When that happens, some of those things are known today, some aren't. My question is, I believe part of the budget meeting should be to discuss this matter, because I will need legislation, I will need appropriations, and it will not, I need to be clear here, it will not be part of the standard general appropriation number 1. It won't be included in that. These things have to be split out and they have to be proactive. And if our people go out and perform a service outside of the taxpayer norm, that would be considered a use of funds, a diversion of a use of funds, or not generally a proper public purpose. Even if you pass it retroactively, I'm being told by the state auditor's office, I can't pay it. So I want to make sure that this is clear up front and that you guys have an understanding and you are approving these things conscientiously, proactively, not retroactively. And that's, I guess we should consider that a change. We want to make sure we do it right. I'm not saying anybody's been doing anything wrong. What I'm saying is the state auditor is focusing on this, and I'm sure it's right because of my fiduciary responsibilities. Excuse me.
Ms. Frisch.
threw me off on DFID. I mean, they have money come in to beautify the downtown with their businesses, but they're not gonna give us money for the new employee that we have that runs that? I don't understand.
Yeah, so, sorry. Yes, so what I have been thinking about is over the last year, so DFID previously, as we discussed, used to have someone that they would pay for the flowers, they would pay for the fertilizing, and then they paid a person to clean downtown, and pick up trash, do mulch, additional mulch cleanup. Our team always put the mulch down, did some pruning, different things like that, but picking up cigarette butts out of the mulch, different things like that, and daily watering. When that individual retired, that from the flower shop, they paid him a small amount. There was a bunch of challenges with maintaining the flowers, and they were dying regularly. The city has a team member that was interested in being able to help with that, has the ability to be there on a daily basis because he was already going downtown to prune plants, do some cleanup, etc. Over the last year and a half, as we had been taking that on, DFID had said they would help offset that cost. However, to comply with some of the requests of the auditor's office, it has become very cumbersome for our team to track every minute of where the individual is spending his time. And so because I believe that maintaining our downtown is something that's in our strategic plan to make sure we're protecting the heartbeat of our community and investing in maintenance of different items, I think it is easier and cleaner to, instead of having DFID cover an employee that we had regardless and now have just expanded the scope of his responsibilities, to instead have them direct their funds to specific projects. So they would pay for the flowers, they would pay for the fertilizer, they would pay for, if we, this year we've been getting new, some of Christmas decorations, different things like that, that they are kind of over and above and unique to the downtown area. What I would like to do, though, is instead of them providing general funds that we then have to account for every minute of our employees' time, which is additionally cumbersome, I would rather that just be covered by the city of Findlay as part of maintaining our community, and DFID's funds can go to specific items. So I'm working through with the team. I will discuss with the law director and the auditor when necessary to determine how we want to handle that, and any legislation that's necessary to be able to do that, I will bring that forward. But this has just continued to come up. That's how I would like to handle it, and are working through the details to bring a proposal back to council.
Ms. Frischie?
So I guess, I mean, I used to operate a business in downtown, and, having the DFID and doing things, and it was for removing snow and salt and all these things which are above and beyond beautification of the downtown. I'm all for a downtown that's beautiful, but why do we renew a contract with DFID if you're telling me we're gonna handle it all, and then if they want to contribute something to Christmas lights or pay for the mulch up front, I guess I have a real problem with that, especially if I was a downtown business, because I'd like to know where that money's going to be going if we're going to do all the maintenance in downtown.
Mayor?
Yeah, so I would like to clarify, we didn't renew a contract with DFID. We certified the request of downtown property owners to tax themselves to provide above and beyond services to the downtown district. And so I think that...
But we were being paid by them is what I'm getting at.
Correct. And we have not, and right now I'm saying I would prefer to not deal with the headache of them providing additional funds to support things that should probably be general operations, and instead direct those funds to things that are over and above to benefit the entire area.
Mr. Stashek?
And this is exactly where the administration is not clear. It is not general operations to pick and choose sections of town that get services that are beyond the norm for the taxpayers. What we're asking for, and what will have to happen based on what the mayor just described, is she will need to put together a personal service and other detailed budget for your approval in an ordinance for you to pass, saying this amount of money is going to be appropriated for those DFID services that she just said she intends to provide. And you will have to approve that, or you cannot spend that money because I cannot do it. And that is government accounting. That is government fund accounting, and that's the way we need to do things, because generally, if we plowed snow through the whole city, Tiffin Avenue, the university area, West Park, if we provided those same services, yes, but watering flowers and doing things with taxpayer money that the taxpayer intended for another use may or may not be a proper public purpose, and as defined to me by the state auditor's office, it is the legislative authority that decides if it's a proper public purpose, not the administrators, including the law director's office. So it needs to be presented to council, and council needs to approve it. And if it's clean and proper and right, community will endorse it, and there won't be a problem, and I'll pay it. It'll be good. So let's do this right, and let's do this the way the state tells us we have to do it.
All right, final comment, let's move on. It sounds like you two need to work this out again.
Well, no, that's all I was going to
Okay.
specify is that per my last email to the auditor, we are working to put that together.
Thank you. Other old business, new business? Mayor?
Just two quick things. First of all, super disappointed, but Don Essex has accepted a new position, which is a great decision for him, but we are certainly going to miss him, so a search has begun. But I also just want to draw your attention, there will be an email invite going out via email if you haven't received it already to an open house to recognize him next week. So please, if you are able to stop by, that would certainly mean a lot. And then I think I just had one other quick question. Councilwoman Frischie, can you provide a little clarification on why you voted no on the annexations properties that were requested by the property owners?
Sure, so they're requested, but we're increasing our property lines. And that's more property for us to maintain for safety services. And there's currently no project going on those parcels. And annexing property unnecessarily, I'm not a fan of. And I'm wanting to see better accountability and public safety before we are annexing more property into the city.
All right, thank you.
Other old business? New business, Mr. Wobser?
Just a comment to the Strategic Planning Committee. I'll be sending out an email to find a date for us to get together.
Mr. Niemeyer?
I've had different people think there's leaf pickup. And some areas of the city, there's a lot of leaves raked on the curbs, so they think it's a pick and choose, or somebody saying, hey, we'll pick your leaves up if you get them out there.
Mayor?
We are doing a leaf pickup across the entire community. I think it's November 19th through December 6th, but they must be bagged. You can also put limbs out there. So you just can't brush them in. That is not advised. It is not great. And since I have everybody's attention, please make sure to get the leaves away from your storm drains.
They have to be paper bags too. They can't be regular plastic garbage bags. Mr. Stashak?
Mr. Wobser, I might encourage you, I've given this a lot of thought over time. I've mentioned it to council a couple times. Much like our structure for our city income tax department, there have been some issues from audit perspective, from my perspective, some concerns from employee perspective and even administratively, where you might want to give some thought and have your strategic planning committee consider splitting HR out from under administrative responsibility and make them more independent. You could do it much like you do city income tax, or you could make them a standalone official and have a special way of appointing that group, or have a board, much like income tax does. But I think there would be some value at this point in time, because of the nature of the world, the litigiousness of the world, the types of issues we're seeing that are coming to my office, and some of the things we've discussed, to consider making HR an independent or more independent function of the city of Findlay. And I think the taxpayers would be better served if you consider that. And that's food for thought tonight.
Other new business? At this point in time, we have one further public communication. Patty Klein would like to talk about our ad hoc rules.
Okay, just a quick comment. Since we went through a really serious process about changing the way that oral rules were done through the ad hoc committee, and people were pretty interested in that whole process, and I was very interested in that whole process. And I felt privileged to be able to help redesign an oral communications form. Well, I thought I'd follow up and see how that was going. So I received 16 oral communications forms here from the time that it was trialed through, I don't know, last month sometime. So there's 16 of them, and what I found was there were a couple here that were from utilities, which they wouldn't have a ward or any kind of follow-up since they spoke. So we throw that out. There were a couple of forms that were used with the old form, which all I could figure is that maybe these were printed online, because the online form is still the old form, and that's as of a couple weeks ago, or maybe last week when I checked. So it is not the new form online. So then I have these 12 forms here that are the new form. Not one of you guys filled out the the ward or the city council thing where it says action taken by council representative and a signature. 12 of them, zero of you guys filled it out. So I'm not sure why you included it in this when we did this form, and possibly maybe you're not getting them or something like that. But you know, my thought on that, as we discussed and when I came up here during those meetings, was that it was for you guys to show accountability, that you are communicating with the residents, and there's been this breakdown of communicating with residents, and this was just a little piece that you guys could, you know, kind of give back. So I don't know if you haven't received the forms, or I hope it's not that you just didn't care, and I'm hoping that maybe we can you can do these. I mean, I think it would be an opportunity for you guys, especially if you run for office again. You guys would have this to say, look at this, I've communicated with 16 different residents who came to spoke. That shows we care. On the flip side, when I've got 12 blank forms, it looks like you don't care. And when I did the form, I thought, oh, maybe they're just gonna write talk to resident and sign it. And at this point, that would be an improvement if it said talk to resident. So something other than blank would be nice, and then update the form on the computer.
Patty, I got a quick question.
Yep.
Like, you'd filled out this form, you'd asked submitters requested use the forms. So in your scenario, do you want the Ward 3C representative to contact you about tonight's discussion? And the same thing on the 12 forms, if they ask for requested action, that's one thing, but a blank form where they've not asked for any, they've just spoke about a subject and not asked for specific action is a different thing. And so I think we can improvement. I have no problem. Denise and my office, we can do that, communicate that to the, but again, it has to be a specific request or follow-up. You know, whether that's a phone call, an email, obviously can't be an email, can't be a phone call, because again, council requested that information isn't put on the form, so sometimes maybe that's the case. So
I think
just a lot of questions. I think it can be,
it's about
improvement can be made,
communication.
and I'd like to work with you.
If I could just
Yeah.
comment on that, it's about communication. Whether that happens here, and Beth says, I hear ya, she would be my council person. I would be fine with her saying, spoke with resident at meeting, you know, sign off. It's nothing you guys are required to do. There's no law that says you have to fill this out. And I understand that. It's really just about accountability, and if you sent an email, if you spoke with the resident, if, you know, whatever it was, you talked in the hallway after the meeting, you know, just spoke with resident would be something, and it would show some sort of effort to, you know, just have that accountability that we're building bridges and making relationships between residents and our city council representative.
Mr. Palmer.
Yeah, I have not received one of those to fill out, and then I do believe there was one of my constituents didn't want any action taken on one of the times that he spoke. So that's all I've got.
That's okay.
Ms. Frisch.
So maybe that form, if nobody's getting them on this side of the room, maybe that would be a President Harrington to make sure you're distributing back over, since there was so much time taken to change the process of public comment.
If you'd like to stop at my desk on the way out the door, I'd be more than happy to hand you any of these that pertain
They weren't
to
my
you or
ward, but
anybody
I
else.
talk to people all the time. I'm just saying he said he didn't get anything. And I think everybody forgets what we pass in city council, right? We took all this time and all this effort from a ad hoc committee. And then you got constituent input and you embraced it. But, oh, well, you had plenty of comment during those discussions. But as council president, is that something that you can then send those to us, or you want to give the responsibility to Denise, that we get them back and then maybe we post them somewhere in
Thank
the
you.
in the council site?
Like I told Ms. Klein, we're going to work on it and we'll let you know.
Oh, you're working on it, but it's
Yeah,
not
I
you.
said we
Okay,
will. I
gotcha,
didn't say I
gotcha.
am. I said we will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Patty. All right. At this time, the mayor and administration has asked us to adjourn to executive session to discuss the fire and police contract. I need a motion. Mr. Russell, second, Mr. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Russell.
Rob, is one of our valid reasons to discuss contract issues for executive session. Is that a valid reason? Rob Feiner. You. It's a law question.
That's a problem. I think the Rob thing. Yes, that does fall under 121.22G as one of the exceptions for contracts with public employees union stuff. It's confidential, so it is proper. It should be stated for the record that that is the purpose of going into that executive session, and then do your motions. And
I move that council go into executive session to discuss police and fire union contracts. After executive session, no further council business will be conducted.
Thank you. Second, Mr. Palmer. All those in favor of adjourning to executive session, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. We are adjourned to executive session.